Hey everyone, Eclecticism here. So today I kind of want to go over a new knife I got. I was traveling out of state a little bit, don't worry, I'm fully vaxxed. But I was traveling out of state, ended up at a Cabela's, and I found this knife there. For those of you who don't know, I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania, near Scranton. And up here, we don't got anything close to Cabela's. We have a Field and Stream, but that's about it. We don't have not Field and Stream. We don't have any Cabela's. We don't have any Bass Pro Shops. Nothing like that. So trying to find a decent knife shop that's local, driving distance that you can actually inspect the knives, see them for yourself at, kind of difficult. But when I was there, I saw a good deal on this knife that I couldn't really pass up. Because Walmart has this knife, but it has a different version of it. So without further ado, let me show the CRKT Minimalist, the Bowie design. So for those of you that don't know, this knife, there's two designs of it. The Bowie design, excuse the loud noises outside. People love to speed up my road and have no regard for how loud they can be, of course. But this is the Bowie design. And the alternative design is the cleaver one. Now, Walmart tends to carry the cleaver one. And they were actually out of stock of that, so I wasn't able to really get a hold of that. But I was able to find this at Cabela's, the Bowie design. Now, this is a pretty solid knife, the Minimalist. I picked it up last weekend, actually. And this knife, I've used it a decent bit already. I got it so I can have a decent neck knife because I'm the type of person that likes to have a backup to my backup. I carry a few backup knives to what I have because I tend to find myself either having multiple people with me who might need a knife for doing whatever we're doing. Maybe it's carving wood, maybe it's batoning. I wouldn't baton with this knife, obviously, but anything that you'd be needing a pocket knife for, I tend to be the one to supply people with them. And I also like to have them just in case I end up forgetting a knife. Say I lose one in the car or I drop one somewhere and end up losing it for good. Haven't had that happen yet, knock on wood, because I don't want to lose my knives. But anyway, I have generally found having multiple knives just be pretty good to have. So I wanted to get a neck knife. And the Minimalist, I always found to be like a recommended one online and from local friends as well. They generally said that this was a good knife to pick up for a neck knife. And yeah, so far my experience has been good. So the Minimalist is a 2-inch blade coupled by about a 3-inch handle, which is supposed to be held like this so you can just have a nice firm grip with the little notches for the fingers. You have this little lanyard here, so that way you can kind of tie it around things, maybe around your neck if you want to. This isn't the part that goes around your neck. I'll show that in a little bit. But I haven't found myself using this too much. I use it to pull out of the sheath, mostly, which I believe is its main purpose. But it's a nice little addition. I don't mind it. The coloration on the handle's nice as well. It feels very firm in my hand, and I have decently sized hands, so I didn't think that this would be the best fit, but surprisingly it is. Now, one thing I should note, with the Minimalist, I compared this one to an earlier one my buddy got, and they actually slightly made the blade and the handle thicker in later iterations of it. I don't know if it's maybe a later model. I couldn't find that online, so I don't believe so. But if you're hunting for it, I'd just keep that in mind. That said, though, like I was saying, the handle's nice. I believe it's made of some sort of plastic. I don't know what sort, but it doesn't feel cheap. Very sturdy. Blade is, of course, full tang, as any good fixed blade should be. And the knife itself, it's made of 5CR15 MOV steel, this one. Which, it's not a bad steel, of course. And, well, assuming it's treated right, obviously, I don't mind it. It's something like this that's a softer steel would be pretty good for what the Minimalist is made for, being an on-the-field, quick-use Bowie knife when you don't got anything else to use. Meant for a lot of general tasks, be it maybe skinning game, carving wood, chopping up, small branches, things like that. And this does that task really well. I've used this already for wood carving. I haven't used it for carving game, but I have used it to chop through thin materials that might be similar to, say, the skin and muscle that you'd find on game. I've used it to chop through some various branches, trees, things like that. I've used it, of course, with standard EDC things, opening packaging, things like that. Obviously, it's to be good at. It's out of factory, too. The blade, decently sharp. I haven't had a need to sharpen it either, fortunately, yet. I'm probably going to soon, how much I'm using this thing. But considering that it's a lower end steel, I'm gonna bet that they made it a little bit harder than the steel's said to be. Just because of the fact that I anticipate myself having to sharpen this thing already how much I've used it and how many duty tasks, but no, it's still basically out of the box. So, that's really nice to see. The blade, too, is decently thick. It's got a basic sort of... Oh, actually, I haven't stopped to analyze the grind. I believe it's a hollow grind, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a hollow grind. So, got a basic hollow grind on it. I'm surprised it's the first time we've actually stopped to check it out. But, thick blade, very beefy, doesn't feel cheap whatsoever, so they definitely use the steel they said. And normally CRKT has kind of problems with their knives. They're known for having good designs, but bad steel. But for the steel they're using for this, I haven't had any issues yet. Knock on wood, of course. But I mean, 5CR isn't really a horrible steel whatsoever, you know. I haven't had it long enough to see if it'll rust or corrode yet. I don't believe so. It's got a decent amount of chromium in it, so it shouldn't. But I haven't stopped to check, so I guess I'm gonna have to see on that. You know, maybe I'll post an update sometime in the future if it does end up rusting or corroding. But considering its content, I don't believe that'll happen anytime soon. Maybe when I do my sharpening video, because I do plan on doing a video just a little bit about knife sharpening. I'll give this one a whirl, because I'm definitely going to need it by that point. But this has been phenomenal. I've already, like I said, I've already carved a little bit of wood with it, and I haven't had no issues whatsoever. This thing carves as well as any bigger, beefier fixed blade you can find in the market. It actually carves very similar to how my Mora carves, believe it or not, which I found to be a very pleasant surprise, because Mora, obviously, better to use for any sort of bushcraft things, but I don't always have my Mora on me. But if I had this on my neck, I'd always have it on me. But so, TLDR, basic gist of the fit nature. This knife is pretty rock solid. I enjoy this thing a lot. And I'm gonna keep wearing this as my neck knife for, we'll see how long it comes. You know, I very much so enjoy it. But I also want to a little bit talk about the sheath it comes with, which is this bad boy. So any good neck knife, of course, has to be worn around the neck. It has to have a good sheath, because otherwise you don't want to accidentally hurt yourself. So this knife goes in this sheath just like that, pops right in. It does take a little bit of pull to get it out, but considering how good the sheath is, I'd have no issues doing that at all. You know, pops in, pops out good. As you can see, I'm pulling a little bit on it, and it's not even coming out. You have to use actually a little bit of strength to just pull on it out like that. Depends on which way you pull, you know. Obviously, doing it like this gives it some more give. But, yeah, I've been doing a little bit of running around, a little bit of hiking, a little bit of things like that with this knife, and so far, I've had no issues with it. I've been wearing it near daily since then, so this has been a pretty solid addition to my EDC. This sheath is very good. It keeps it locked in extremely nice. And it also is not big enough to where it becomes an issue. You know, I can easily, if I'm in a situation where, you know, it's probably not the best to have a knife hanging around your neck, I can easily just stuff it in my shirt, and it's not uncomfortable at all. It feels fine. Just feels like a necklace almost. You know, feels like one of the bigger necklaces you'll find out there. And I wear a lot of necklaces too. And this hadn't had an issue yet of getting tangled with them either, which I like a lot. Because I'm the type of person that will wear a decent bit of necklaces. I just like how they look, and a few of them have more sentimental value to me or spiritual value. So, yeah, this has had no issues with that. The string, it's not paracord. It's nothing too high quality, high-end beefy like that. I'm sure at some point this is going to get torn down. We'll have to see on that, because it just looks like a basic like polyester material. So nothing really phenomenal. But if it does get worn down, there's this little bit right here, and I can easily rethread it with paracord if I need to. So I'm not too worried about that. It's very simple to rethread. You just put it through here, boom, that easy. I believe there's instructions on there on how to do it, people have posted online. I haven't had to use it yet, obviously, but it's there if you need it. This thing also comes with a pocket clip, but I haven't actually used that because I don't see a need. I mean, not pocket clip, my apologies. I meant a belt clip. Some people prefer to wear these sort of knives on their belt. No issues with that, obviously, but it's just not for me, you know. So, I haven't a need for that. But I've rambled long enough. The basic gist is, this is a pretty rock solid knife, and I got it for only $30, too. Believe it or not, only 30 bucks. And for a knife like this that I enjoy this much, that's a very solid price. The cleaver design that you'd find at Walmart is 20, I believe. And that's generally better for basic chopping, things like that, or kitchenware shit, obviously. But, you know, it's not something that I really would highly suggest. Hey, you should get this over this. No, I'd say you should get the Bowie instead, actually. Because the thing about the Bowie design, right, is that this is a lot better for carving. It's a lot better for skinning. The design of the knife is meant to essentially pierce through whatever you're trying to get into. So if you're doing skinning, you're going to want to do a lot of piercing to get through the skin and muscle. And if you're doing anything sort of like, cleaver related, chopping, cooking, this won't do that. This will suffice, you can obviously do a motion like that, but most people who are going to want a neck knife are going to want to carry it wherever they go. They're not going to be doing cooking wherever they go, especially not with such a small knife, too, because it's only 2 inches long, and most cleavers, you're not going to want a 2-inch long cleaver. You're just not. I know a lot of people write home at the cleaver design. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I might get it at some point in the future. I might, just to do a comparison. But I'd recommend this one, personally, at least based on my experience so far, and my just personal preference for Bowie knives. They're solid knives, they're good knives. You can beat around with them, you can do a lot with them, versatile. But I've rambled on long enough, as I've said multiple times. This knife, basic gist, solid, comfortable handle, feels really nice in the hand. Decent blade material for a cheaper knife. Lower on the hardness scale, which is good for an all-around, beater knife, as you'd hope for, essentially. At least me personally, I know some people prefer their bushcraft knives to be higher on the scale. Personally, I prefer them just to be a little bit lower because I don't mind the sharpening process behind them. And just the fact that, like, I'm not too worried about them shattering if I beat them up too much. I mean, obviously it's a worry, but it's not my personal one. Comes out the box extremely sharp. Very good design. Blade shape, of course, for doing any sort of general bushcraft tasks. Full tang, so you're not going to have to worry about this thing snapping in half because of a bad tang design. It has a very good sheath. Fits around the neck nice. And yeah, that's the CRKT Minimalist. So, with all that said, I'd like to wish you all a good day, and just stay safe out there.